Alright, welcome back. I'm going to try and do a jet-only tips video. I don't do reviews, I don't do tutorials, but I do tips, which just generally means this is what I do. It might not be right, it might not be correct, but this is what I do. I'm going to start with the radar first. I'll try and put some timestamps down in the description, if I remember, because there's quite a few subjects, and the radar is really... Well, it is quite convoluted how to use it. But anyway, first things first, as you can see, the radar's on the right. It's like a cheese wedge sort of shape. I tend to use the rectangle one, which I'll show you how to use that now, because it's less confusing. But go to Options, Air Battle Settings, Use Rectangular Radar Indicator. Close that. Resume, and then we got this. It just feels better for me. It just looks better for me. But there you go. That's that. Right. Okay. We'll have a look at the infrared search and track thing. For this is the MiG-23. I think only the MiG-23s have got it. So the infrared one is, well, this is radar, and you press a button and it goes into infrared. Now I will take off and I'll show you the rest. Okay, I will pause it there. Right. Oh bloody hell, I'll turn that noise off. Right, so if we go to controls and we go to, I'm pretty sure it's weaponization. And what you're looking for is switch radar or infrared search on and off. So this is the switch you need to assign to turn between normal radar and infrared. So write that down. I'll be asking questions later. Yeah, so switch radar IRST search mode on and off. And the next thing you need to know, well, there are two more things. This one here, change radar. Well, yeah, just change radar search mode. And this narrows or widens the search on normal radar and on the infrared search as well. I will show you that on the radar later, because this plane's radar doesn't change much. But yeah, this narrows and widens the search. And then this is the button I use. This is quite a universal button because it does different things in different radar modes. So this one locks onto the target that you're looking at, and that's it. So that changes the wideness. This locks on to the vehicle that you're looking at. So We'll show you that in a minute. Right, so this is just, I'm really close just to get an example. So I can press the change search mode button, which we showed you, and that will narrow or widen the band, or keep, it'll narrow it if you need to, and it'll just look at something directly in front of you. Then you press the select target to lock, and it'll lock on. And I'll go through the weapon select in a different segment. So yeah, so there you go. We've got select target to lock. You can dislocate it and lock it again. And then you've got change search mode, which we looked at. And if we lock on, I'll go through the weapon select later. Right, now we'll look at some more radar controls. So this one, change radar. I'm just going to ignore that because that just means either infrared or radar. It's the same thing. I'm just going to say change radar mode. This switches between normal radar and look down or pulse Doppler, and I think the Soviets call it a different name. But this changes between pulse Doppler and normal scan. And this one, radar beyond / within visual range combat. So this one switches between normal radar and a radar, I think it's called ACM, aerial combat maneuvers. But when you press that, the radar band narrows right down and it tries to lock whatever you're dogfighting with. It tries to lock whatever you're looking at. So I'll show you that as well. That's it's a long name, isn't it? Beyond or within visual range combat. And then we have scope scale. Change radar scope scale. Now I've got these on a thumbstick, which is up, down, left, and right. But yeah, you can do whatever you want. So yeah, this changes between pulse Doppler and normal. This changes between normal scan and scan whatever's in front of you. And this one changes the scope. So I'll just show you now. I've done it in nighttime so you can see. So change radar mode to pulse Doppler. So the normal mode, pulse Doppler. When it's in pulse Doppler, you can't really change anything else. It's either pulse Doppler or nothing. So that's that. And then we've got the scope scale, which I mentioned. If you can see there on the top right hand corner, it says 6 miles. You can change it to 11 miles, 29, 57, 115, 230. You can't go up and down for some reason, but you can only go forward. So that's that. And then that long name, the ACM, when I push down, it tries to lock on whatever you're dogfighting with, whatever's in front of you. So that's that basically. And I'll go through them again. So that's the ACM. That's pulse Doppler and normal, and that's the range. Right, so I'm in the Japanese F40 Sabre with 2 sidewinders. I'm not using weapon select on this. Can you remember when I said select radar target to lock? It does multiple things. I don't know if I did say that, but I'm saying it now. When you've got an enemy on your radar and you press this button, the radar will lock that and you'll get the green box. But also, if your jet has a gyro, a radar gyro, this button turns it on and off as well. So it does a few different things, this button. So I'll show you now. Continue. Yeah, so you've got your radar and you press weapon select. It turns your radar gyro on and off. If you're creeping up to a plane and that plane has radar warning and you're closer than 2 miles, it will pick it up. So you can be sneaky and turn it off. So yeah, select target to lock has some weird things about it. Okay, just another nuance with the radar. Do you remember me saying radar beyond within visual range, where when you press this button the radar narrows right down and it tries to lock whatever's in front of you? That's ACM. I'm in the Javelin. This doesn't work on here. To enable this, you've got to press the select target to lock button again. Select target to lock button again. The same button that turns off the radar gyro and the same button that tries to lock onto a plane that your radar's picking up. So I'll show you here. Close. So some planes have it. So the normal ACM button doesn't work on this, but if I press select target to lock, it'll try and lock on what's in front of me. I think this is called track while scan. So it's still scanning the radar, but it's also trying to lock what's in front of me. But I'm not quite close enough. So yeah, so that radar, select radar to lock, radar target to lock, does 3 different things. And it just depends which plane you're in. So in this one, select target to lock does the ACM or track while scan. So it should pick it up because it's really close. For some reason it's not picking it up. Maybe I'm not. Yeah, there we go. So there we go. It locks on straight away, and then you can fire your missiles. Right, I'll try and go through IFF. Right, so most modern planes have IFF. So if the planes do have IFF, this is what an enemy would look like. It'd look like a single dash. Now I'm trying to hold my head still. Can I just do that? Yes, I can. Right, so an enemy would be a single dash, and these two lines are just telling you that the plane, your plane, is looking at this as an enemy, and this is the target that looks like the most dangerous or the closest one to you. And if you press that select target button like we saw earlier, it would try and lock onto this. There may be other single dashes around, more enemies, but this is the one that your plane's looking at. So when you press the weapon select, when you press the select target, it'll try and lock on this one. There is a button that lets you swap through the targets, but I never use it, and I never get it to work. So if there's multiple enemies here, you can press a button to swap through them, but I never use it, so I'm not going to show you. So yeah, your plane thinks this is an enemy, and when you press the select target, it'll try and lock onto this one. Enemy, single dash, friendly, double dash. And this is what your plane is looking at the moment. There are caveats. IFF, I'm not a scholar with IFF, but IFF, your plane, when it's searching out when it's radar, it'll send a signal, and if a friendly plane that you're looking at receives that signal, it'll send a friendly signal back to you, and it'll come up with two lines, and you'll know that that's a friendly. However, if you're trying to lock onto a Spitfire, that doesn't have IFF, and if it's a friendly Spitfire, it'll probably come back as a single line because it's not going to get an IFF signal handshake back. Same with if you're trying to lock if a MiG-9, not a MiG-19, a MiG-9. A MiG-9 probably doesn't have IFF. So if you've got a friendly MiG-9 on your team, it'll probably come back as a dash. So IFF only works if both planes have it. So you've got to be careful when sending Sparrows out, because you might be locking on to a pre-Korean War aeroplane or something. So that's what you've got to be careful about, and that's sometimes why you get friendly fire, because your plane doesn't understand that the plane you're looking at doesn't have IFF. So yeah, enemies single dash, friendlies double dash, and friendlies with a double dash generally do not have these lines either side. So yeah, you've got to be careful. Both planes need to have IFF for it to work. Right, what's next? Right, okay, so we'll do weapon firing now. I'm gonna do a separate video for ground attacking, because the dropping bombs and the walleyes and the mavericks, they're all tricky. It'll take too long, so I'll do a separate video for air to ground, so forget that. Right, so normal weapons, so normal air-to-air missiles. So we've got, so yeah, imagine you've got a saber with two sidewinders. Imagine that. You've got your machine guns, which could be these two here. You've got normal machine guns, and then you've got your air-to-air sidewinders. So you need a weapon lock that warms up or cools down. It doesn't warm. It cools down your air-to-air missiles, and it starts the search mode. When it's locked on, you can press this button to fire air-to-air missiles. Alternatively, you can ignore this. Well, you can, because that turns it on and off. So if you're searching for something, if you press it again, it'll stop searching. If you're not searching and you press the air-to-air missile, it'll start searching. And when you've locked, you can press it again to fire the missile. So yeah, weapon lock and fire air-to-air missile, and I'll show you that if I can. Okay, I don't think I'll get up there, but yeah. So I press the weapon lock air-to-air, and it starts powering up your missiles. And you might be able to hear it, it's searching for a target now. But if I press it again, it'll stop. So you can start and stop without without weapon lock. If I press the fire air-to-air missile, it'll power up the missile, but you can't turn it off with the trigger. And when it locks, you can just press it again and it'll fire. But I'm nowhere near close to it. Right, that's pretty basic, really. I'll go back and I'll try and show you the weapon select. Right. Okay, so weapon select. It is slightly complicated. As I said before, the air to ground I'll cover in a separate video. So primary weapons, they're basically your cannons. Some planes like the Shenyang has 23s and 37s. So this button would select between them two, or those two. Secondary weapons, this swaps between your sparrows, your sidewinders, your rockets, your bombs, whatever else you've put on the plane. So primary fire is your machine guns, secondary fire is your ordnance, or whatever you've put on. So you need to bind a button for these two. Right, so the next one is, where are we? Switch. As soon as you press one of these two buttons, weapon select mode is on, and then you can exit select mode, weapon select mode with this one here. So switch secondary weapons, that swaps between, as I said before, this one swaps between your sidewinders, sparrows, whatever, and that swaps between your machine guns or cannons or whatever you want. And then exit selected weapon mode. If you don't want to use it, just bind that and it'll turn it off. So I very rarely use this because there aren't many planes that have multiple cannons, so I very rarely use that. So switch secondary weapons, and then we've got fire secondary weapons and fire primary weapons. These are always bounded. So if we go here and I press select, if you look on the top left where it says AAM, just above flare, I press select secondary weapons, and now I've got AIM-9s, and now I've got Sky Flash. And now to warm these up is the same button, it's the same select, it's the same weapon lock air to air. Weapon lock air to air warms these up, and you can turn it on and off. So we'll go to Sky Flash, and we'll find a plane. Okay, I've just paused it. Let me just put the let's lock it here. So yeah, I locked him up. There are two lines here, and this larger line, basically between these two lines the plane thinks that the Sparrow is within range and it should hit. Closer to the middle is probably best, but yeah, if this big line is up here, it means you're out of range. See, you've got to close on the target unless the target's flying towards you. You've got to wait until it comes between these two lines. I mean, I don't know how accurate it is, but it is best if it's in between these two lines. It doesn't always work, but if it's out of these two lines, it'll never work. So this big line, as soon as you've locked on, you'll get this box, and this larger line will probably up here, and you've got to wait for it to come down, and this is just for the radar missiles. So yeah, as long as in between, it should work. But yeah, my pulse Doppler doesn't seem to be working. Does it work? Oh, now it's working. There we go. We locked on. I'm too close now. And then we warm up the Sky Flash because you use weapon lock, and then fire because we're in range. And that did work, yeah. So select target to lock it on, to lock on your target, and then you weapon lock air to warm up your Sparrows, and then fire. Now normal mode is exactly the same, but Doppler, you can in most occasions you can look at things beneath you against the ground, and it's a lot better. But however, there is a caveat. Most planes that have Doppler don't have IFF, so you got to know what you're shooting at. I think the Japanese EJ Kai F4 Phantom, I think that has IFF and Doppler at the same time, but most planes, if you put into Doppler, you can't change between, it won't recognise friend or foe, so you need to know what you're looking at before you use it. Right, for the next part I need to use Microsoft Paint, so I'll be back in a minute. Right, as you can see with my MLG paint skills, this is this is pulse Doppler. Oh dear. Right. So, pulse Doppler. It's the same with sound waves, radio waves, light waves, and photons. If something is travelling away from you, the sound waves, radio waves get longer and wider. If something's coming towards you, they get shorter and thinner. That's blue shift and that's red shift. This is how they discovered that the universe is expanding, because when someone was looking through a telescope, they noticed that all the light waves from all the galaxies had a red shift, which means that everything was moving away from each other. Stephen Hawking worked out the calculation. But yeah, it's basically the meow sound that you get. So, pulse Doppler on a plane, it only works if something's travelling away from you or towards you. It usually ignores the ground clutter, but if there's something moving towards you or away from you, it can usually detect it. But if something is travelling at the same speed, it has a difficulty detecting it. That's why it doesn't always detect stuff if you're chasing somebody. Let's go to the next page. Right now, so I don't know if Gaijin have implemented notching, and I don't even know if notching is what I'm talking about here. It could be wrong, I could be right. So if your target is closing or moving away from you, the Doppler has an easier time of tracking you. But if a plane is moving sideways, you fire a missile and this plane's moving sideways, the closing distance isn't as pronounced, so it has a harder time keeping track of something moving sideways. I think it's called notching. So yeah, Doppler is good, but only if something is, travelling towards you. So yeah, I don't know if notching is something that's in the game, but it might be, I'm not sure. So yeah, that's one thing to be worried about with pulse Doppler. If you're tracking something and you see him move sideways, you might lose the lock. So yeah. So that's the wrong button. So yeah, he's going that way. You're going this way. You might not lock. So yeah, that's pulse Doppler in a nutshell. Not really. Right, I hope that makes sense. I mean, it is very convoluted. You need so many buttons these days for this game. It's ridiculous. But I hope it makes sense. As I said, I will do an air to ground tips video later, and after the new year I'll redo a control setup. I'll do a 2022 thing. I'll do a control setup, graphic settings, and air to ground and things like that. So I'll do some updated ones that I've done before for 2022. But yeah, I hope that makes sense. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you later. Bye bye.